they had when scouting in war, but one of them always kept along with the wagon. They had gone on this way for 2 days and saw nothing to trouble and alarm them. There were few persons on the high road, and these seemed to be full as shy of them as they probably were of strangers. But just as they were about to camp the evening of the second day, while they were splitting lightwood and getting out the kettles and the frying pan, a person rode up and joined them without much ceremony. He was a short, thick-set man, somewhere between 40 and 50, had on very coarse and common garments, though he rode a fine black horse of remarkable strength and vigor. He was very civil of speech, though he had but little to say, and that little showed him to be a person without much education and with no refinement. He begged permission to make one of the encampment, and his manner was very respectful and even humble. But there was something dark and sullen in his face. His eyes, which were of a light gray color, were very restless, and his nose turned up sharply and was very red. His forehead was excessively broad, and his eyebrows thick and shaggy, white hairs being freely mingled with the dark, both in them and upon his head. Mrs. Grayling did not like this man's looks and whispered her dislike to her son, but James, who felt himself equal to any man, said promptly, "What of that, Mother? We can't turn the stranger off and say no, and if he means any mischief, there's 2 of us, you know." The man had no weapons, none at least which were then visible, and deported himself in so humble a manner that the prejudice which the party had formed against him when he first appeared, if it was not dissipated while he remained, at least failed to gain any increase. He was very quiet, did not mention an unnecessary word, and seldom permitted his eyes to rest upon any of those in the party, the females not excepted. This, perhaps, was the only circumstance that, in the mind of Mrs. Grayling, tended to confirm the hostile impression which his coming had originally occasioned. In a little while the temporary encampment was put in a state both equally social and warlike. The wagon was wheeled a little way into the woods and off the road, the horses fastened behind it in such a manner that any attempt to steal them would be difficult of success, even were the watch neglectful, which was yet to be maintained upon them. Extra guns, concealed in the straw at the bottom of the wagon, were kept well loaded. In the foreground, and between the wagon and the highway, a fire was soon blazing with a wild but cheerful gleam, and the worthy dame Mrs.